here. And yes, oh, and I forgot to tell y'all, we are recording this. Victoria is recording it for us, and it will be stored on our YouTube channel at some point in the future. And after this, I will be sending all of you all the slides I'm getting ready to show you. I'm also going to send you some links to some events I'm going to tell you about in a minute. So you will have the opportunity to have those. So you don't have to take a note on every single thing. I'm also going to send you a link to my Calendly for a one-on-one Zoom with me, or you can email me if you want to come here to our office and I can find a day I'm here, or we can even do a phone call. So all our services are free. This on the screen, I hope you're all seeing it. Somebody will tell me if you're not, is our Startup Junkie website. You can always go here to about our team. You can read all about me, Victoria, everybody. Here lists all our services. For example, there's a room next to me that we have open co-working space. We operate for the city of Fayetteville. So if you're in Fayetteville and you need a place to land with your laptop and have free Wi-Fi, if we're here, it's open. If we're not here, there's tables in the hall and you can look in the window and see the free Wi-Fi. And then events, our Eventbrite populates right here. So you can see when I click on that, it's going to show you that this Thursday, I'm doing a webinar on Kiva loans, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in the presentation. We also have a happy hour this Friday, free at a winery, free food, free drinks. You can sign up for this or you can just show up. Victoria will be running that this Friday. So we have lots of events like that. You can see my Her journey. It does partake and identify for women. And I'm going to talk in a little bit about why we have this focus and why the state of Arkansas does. But I always tell people, if you are someone who identifies as a woman or who supports women in business, you are welcome to come. We women are used to decades of being excluded, so I never exclude anybody. So you can go there to see all of our events. You can also go here, meet with us. If you click that button, you'll be put with somebody on our team who's a consultant. If you want to book just with me, I'll have that link for you in the email that I'm going to follow up with you. If anybody's on this that didn't sign up through Eventbrite, then you need to email me. You can go to that about our team and my email is there. It's martha@startupjunkie.org. And so realize it's .org because we are a 501c3. We are a nonprofit and our mission is to encourage entrepreneurship in the 9 counties of Northwest Arkansas because we believe that entrepreneurship improves lives, families, and communities. And that's what we do. And that's why everything we do is free of charge. All right. So now if I can be smart enough, I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to pull up my slideshow. And hopefully it's gonna share. Ooh, give me just a second. I told y'all you have to be patient with me. I don't do this that often. Where's my hang on. It is beginning. Well, there it is. Yay, I did it. Okay, hopefully everybody drop in the chat if you don't see the slides. Hopefully you do. All right, so this is the Woman Entrepreneur's Roadmap to getting your business off the ground. Or if you already have a business, but you're starting to get ready to go to the next level, or you've been operating and it's going fast, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, do I need to form an LLC? Do I need to get an EIN number? Hopefully this will help you with both. It's got a little info there on my background. My husband and I now own 2 small businesses. We've had one for 17 years, and then we started another one last year. I'm a 6th generation small business owner in Northwest Arkansas. My family's been in Springdale since 1852 and Siloam Springs since 1901. So everything I'm going to share with you today is based on my experience. Our team at Startup Junkie every year meets with between 700 and 800 people a year in the region who are starting businesses or have them. And there's that website address again. And like I said, you're going to get a copy of all of these slides. This is our building where I'm at today. On the Fayetteville Square, where we have events. Our startup crawl will be in September. We have about 2,000 people that come to that. So I really encourage you to follow us on Facebook, or I'm going to give you Victoria's email to sign up for a newsletter to find out when that's coming, because it's the biggest entrepreneur party in Arkansas. This is some information I want you to know about how in Arkansas, we currently think only about 25 to 28% of our small businesses are owned by women. Our governor, well, our former governor, I don't think he's the governor anymore as of right now. Asa Hutchinson declared women-owned businesses to be minority-owned businesses back in 2017 because he is very committed to encouraging women in business. There's also a link, and you'll have this, and I'm going to email you. I got a really nice special award from the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal back in 2017, and they allowed me to write an article about the history of women and why I'm so committed to that. I had mentioned it in my acceptance speech, and they let me write a full article, and I would really encourage you to copy that link when you get this email from me and read it. You know, realize that until 1974, if you went into a bank and tried to apply for a credit card or a line of credit or a business loan, they could require you to have your husband, daddy, or brother come co-sign for you. So we're trying to catch up. As one of my heroes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, said, we don't want special treatment, just kindly take your foot off our necks. So women have been doing amazing things in business in recent decades, but we still need, I think, to encourage each other a little bit, especially those of us who were not raised that a woman can own her own business. And so that's why this is very important to me. I'm also listing for you here, and we'll send you in these slides. There are lots of other local resources. When I meet with someone and consult with them and they tell me I'm the first person they've talked to, I don't feel like I've done my job if I have not sent them to at least 2 other local resources in Northwest Arkansas. The vast majority of these are nonprofits, or they're through the U of A, and many nonprofits in Northwest Arkansas are funded by the Walton Family Foundation. We have several programs here at Startup Junkie that the Walton Family Foundation supports. And then the city of Fayetteville, city of Bentonville, there are lots of other entities that support entrepreneurship programs. So some of these are listed for you, and you'll be able to go to their websites and view them. E4All is one of our newest, and we just love working with E4All because not only do they do consulting in cohorts, meaning they put you with a group of other business owners and they match you with mentors, but they offer those programs in English and in Spanish. And so I like to get the word out that if you're someone that Spanish was your first language you learned and you're more comfortable with that, that's available. But also I remind people they do have an English cohort and we work with them a lot. So I want to be able to share all of these great resources with you. Then there are networking and support groups. So once you launch your business, or if you just want to go mix and mingle with other women in business, there are great groups like WIN, which has a monthly luncheon up in Rogers, Woman Run, which is run by Meredith Lowry, who's an attorney with Wright Lindsay Jennings. They're starting, I think they're having monthly meetings now. Before it was quarterly and now it's monthly, and they have a woman tell her startup story. There are informal groups that I've worked with, and a few of them I helped start in Harrison and Searcy County, which is over by Marshall and Siloam Springs. And then there are national groups. So I'll be sending this to you and you can investigate those. So when you're preparing to launch, this is something we send everyone, which is the Lean Canvas map. And this is preparing. And if you've already launched, you should think about going back and doing a Lean Canvas. It's like a one-page business plan. And this is really important because right in the middle is unique value proposition. So you want to open a nail salon. Great. Fayetteville for sure already has zillions of those. So what's unique about yours? That uniqueness can be something as simple as, well, there's not one in South Fayetteville, or I'm going to open one in Midtown that actually has a big parking lot that's easy to get to, or I'm going to add some features. I'm going to add food and drinks or a special process, or I've got someone, I'm going to open a daycare in my nail salon. I don't know, but there has to be something unique about what you offer. And then all these other areas we're going to talk about more in depth, but you've really got to plan for this. Just because you have a great idea, you've got to be sure that the public that the customers you're going to recruit are willing to pay money for it. Because if there's no money, it's just a great idea. It's not a business. And so I'm also going to send you a copy of the Lean Canvas map that explains each area and one that you can fill in as a PDF form. Then that can become a formal business plan. I'm also going to send you a link to a wonderful resource I like. It's called bplans.com. Now, if you live in the middle of nowhere in Montana and don't have access to drive to a free small business center, bplans.com, you can buy their software to make a business plan. But I send it to everyone just to read their business plans because they are real ones. They will give people discounts if they'll let them publish their finished business plan. They have every type of business you can imagine. The formal business plan, if you look down here on this slide, over on the right with the financial plan, that's the part that banks are going to have, or micro lenders. We have micro lenders in our area I'm going to talk about in a little bit that aren't as formal as a bank. And that's where you have to guesstimate. You have to project out how much you're going to earn each month in income and why you think you can earn that much and what your expenses are. And so you'll have to go to this more formal level. I can help you get ready for a formal business plan. I can give you a rundown of what bankers are looking for. At Startup Junkie, because we're a private nonprofit, we have collected lists of small business attorneys, accountants, bankers, marketing companies that regularly work with our clients and sometimes volunteer with us to give free seminars. And so that can get you connected to people that are interested in helping you. But all of them, if you're looking to get a loan, are going to need some form of a business plan. But we have lots of resources to help you with that. What's most important, when I was a banker and now that I'm a business consultant, I ask people the first thing in any conversation, what's your experience in the industry? Now, that doesn't mean if you've been working in insurance for 20 years and you've always wanted to have a coffee shop that you can't do that. That's not what it means, but you're going to need to get some experience. And I've had that conversation with people who got offended because they'd worked at Walmart for 22 years and they have lots of money and they just need a business plan and they want to open a coffee shop. And my answer to them, just like a 20-year-old who's in college at the U of A that tells me they want to open a coffee shop, is go work in a coffee shop for 6 months. Experience is key. Bankers cannot take the risk that you don't know how to run that business because you don't have experience, regardless of your credit score, regardless of how great your business plan is. Yes, you may hire other people to help you. You may have an accountant who does your books. You may hire a U of A intern to do your marketing. But at the end of the day, you've got to have experience running that business. Market. How big is the market? Now, just because there are zillions of other coffee shops does not mean that you can't open one. Go back to that Lean Canvas. What's unique about yours? Is it the offerings you're going to have? Is it the place? Is it the parking? Is it something special and unique in a coffee shop that you saw in Chicago that we don't have in Northwest Arkansas? You have to be sure there is a demand, but it's on you to know every competitor. I give people homework a lot when they're starting a business, and I'm like, I already know 6 different businesses, just like the one you're thinking about starting. You need to go read their websites. First of all, it gives you good ideas for your website. You need to go visit them. You need to go see what they're doing and understand how you can break in and take business away from them or open a new market. You have to know your competitors, and any banker is going to expect you to know that. And I got news for you. The second you announce you're launching, those people are going to start looking at you and they're going to want to know what you're doing. So you need to know your competitors. You're going to have to do a lot of street work if you're starting a brand new business, or if you've had one, say you've been doing online sales, or you've been doing consulting with people and traveling around, but now you're ready to open a brick and mortar office and need a loan for that, or you're ready to open a brick and mortar store. You're going to have to do the street work of calling lawyers if you need to set up a new legal entity, checking with business insurance companies, checking with a marketing company for a new website and get bids, contract build out contractors, Find out what the pricing is for different locations that you're going to rent. And you're going to have to put all those together. And I can help you with resources to get those bids. And then I can send you to the U of A Small Business Center and they'll help you make those cash flow projections. But you have to know a guesstimate on those startup expenses. And then you're going to have to formulate out how much you think you can earn each month going forward. And that's not pulling a number out of the sky. For example, if you're planning to launch a food truck and you think you're going to open in February, you better not be putting in the business plan the same gross income for February as you would April and May. First of all, it's your first month. Secondly, everybody goes out to food trucks more in the spring and summer and fall. So you're going to have different segments. You're going to have to know your menu and your pricing. You're going to have to break out in that business plan how much lunch revenue you're going to have, how much dinner. If you're going to sell alcohol, what's the income from that? If you're going to sell t-shirts and merchandise, you have to be able to break out and estimate based on your experience, based upon what you're seeing your competitors do, how much that is. And the U of A Small Business Center can get you some market research. And a lot of times people ask me, they're like, where do they get those reports? How do they get that? I tried to Google it and I couldn't find it. So every time you go to the store and swipe your credit card, you don't realize this, but in the fine print somewhere, when you signed up for that credit card, you're giving them permission to gather your buying habits and put that in data, and they sell it. They don't sell your social security number. They don't sell your name, but that's a way that credit card companies make money, is they collect all this data and then they sell it to market research companies, and then you can get a subscription to that. When I worked at the U of A Small Business Center, they spent about $100,000 a year to have these subscriptions. So you can sign up with them and they can run and tell you how much the average family with a 5-year-old little girl spends on shoes in an average year in Northwest Arkansas. They can get you some of that data. And most of that comes from credit cards. So basic startup requirements. Name. This is something that I've been doing this now for 11 years. And I used to work with this great guy at the Small Business Center, and I used to get on people about their names. And I would say, your name's too generic. You know, if your business really takes off, I'm worried somebody else has a trademark. And people were like, oh, it's Northwest Arkansas. Nobody cares. Well, we are now one of the top 10 places to live in the world. Or United States, I guess, but I think top 10 places to live in the world. We're one of the best places in the United States to start a business. And now if someone has a Google alert set up on their phone, someone opens a business in New York, they trademark that name at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. That is not the Secretary of State where they form the business. That's totally different. That's just business organization. But they have a national trademark that they paid an attorney to get them. They can set up a Google alert that anytime someone uses their name on a website, in social media, gets mentioned in a newspaper article, they get an alert and they can find you. And I have had multiple clients in the last 18 months, especially. I've talked to attorneys. We are seeing a lot of people getting cease and desist letters in the mail from New York, New Jersey, Miami, Florida. There's a restaurant in Rogers that it was in the newspaper they had and all over social media that they had to completely rebrand, because at the time they opened that restaurant, there was already a restaurant in Miami, Florida that had a trademark on that name. And they had to have spent $20,000 to $30,000 to rebrand. A simple Google search would have showed that. It would have been really smart before they did that to get an intellectual property attorney to check the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So names matter. And I help people all the time change their names that they had an idea of, and I'll be happy to help you with that if you're worried about that. Now, registering the business and setting the business up. Do realize that the only reason you can say you own a business is because you have pieces of paper that say that. That's the only way a business exists. So on the right-hand side is the easiest and simplest, but only proper if you have a low-risk business. So an example I like to give people a lot is I'm really into door wreaths. Like I like to have a different wreath almost every month on my front door. And let's pretend that I make them in my garage and my neighbors see them and my neighbors say, hey, will you make me me a wreath. And so I make some wreaths and I sell them to my neighbors. I don't think much about it. And then someone says, you should get a booth at the Fayetteville Farmers Market and sell wreaths there. And so I print off some tags and I call it Martha's Magnificent Wreaths. Now that is low risk. All right. First of all, I'm making the wreaths in my garage. I'm doing it legally and going to the farmer's market to sell them. It would be illegal for me to let people come to my house and buy the wreaths because my house is zoned residential. It's not zoned commercial. Legally, if you are buying and if you are selling goods or services to anyone in the city of Fayetteville, you're supposed to go to the Washington County Courthouse, to the county clerk's office, not the circuit clerk, that's lawsuits and stuff, the county clerk's office, and get a $25 doing business as certificate. You give them your address and your name and you get that certificate. Then you can take that to the bank, and it's a good idea to start separating and having a business bank account. They'll give you a doing business as bank account, has your name, the business name, your address, still just your social security number, but helps you separate out that income. If you're selling at the Fayetteville Farmers Market only, you don't have to charge sales tax because we have a special law in Arkansas that says you don't have to charge sales tax if you're at a farmer's market. But if you start selling those wreaths on the internet, if you start selling them more to your friends and family or going to stores, you need to get a sales and use tax permit from the state of Arkansas, and you may owe city and county taxes. You can still do all that as a DBA. It's not high risk. You probably don't even need insurance, and you don't have to set up an LLC for that. But look at the screen on the left. Let's start talking about risky businesses. Number one, it is illegal to sell hot or cold food in the state of Arkansas without having a commercially permitted kitchen inspected by the county health department and approved by the state of Arkansas. Also, food goes in people's bodies. There's risk of people getting sick. There's risk of people filing bogus lawsuits against you. So when we start getting in the risk areas over on the left, at minimum, you need to set up a limited liability company to limit your personal liability. Now, this one doesn't go to the county courthouse. This one gets filed in Little Rock at the state government in the Secretary of State's office, and they issue you a document called a certificate of organization. Now, that's just step one. That says this business was formed on this date. That's noticed to all 75 counties in Arkansas, but a step people skip a lot if they try to do this on their own without a CPA or an attorney is you need an internal document called an operating agreement. And this is where you quit being you with a social security number and become a member owner of an LLC. And then that LLC gets its own tax ID number from the Internal Revenue Service. That LLC can get insurance with an insurance company. It sets up its own business bank account with its own tax ID number, and that limits your personal liability. Then you'll be taught by your accountant or your attorney or me that you sign every contract, your name, comma, member manager, Martha's Magnificent Wreaths, LLC, and you start separating yourself. And that way, if there is a lawsuit, your insurance covers it. If they get a judgment against you, they can't garnish you at your day job. They can't put a lien against your house because they've only dealt with the LLC. Now, on the left, you'll also see larger entities that are more complicated. Those are the reason why we created LLCs in the 1980s. A C Corp, that's more than 100 shareholders. So Walmart, Best Buy, they have to be a C Corp. They have no choice. S Corp. S Corp is interesting. I have people a lot say, well, I was told I should form an S Corp instead of an LLC. Well, first of all, when you form an S Corp, you have to issue shares. You have to have officers. You have to keep meeting minutes every time you make a decision. And those shares can be bought and sold by the people that are issued the shares. You have to keep much more complicated books. In Arkansas, 95% of small businesses set up as an LLC because it's much easier. And then you have membership interests, and you can change that. You can amend the operating agreement. You can add other members or change the percentage of ownership. You can do all that. but it's a much simpler process. And then that operating agreement is vital if you have a partner, if you have a spouse, a sister, a friend that also has an interest. You absolutely got to do that so that you are controlling how the membership interests change. You also have to have this operating agreement in case one of you dies, gets disabled. If you have it with a spouse, I'm sorry, but you need to put in the operating agreement what you're going to do if you get divorced, or one of you just doesn't want to have an interest in the business anymore. And so all of these are things that we can help you with. Now, once your business starts having more money and more money each month, and you think, wow, I've got lots of extra money in there that I've already paid taxes on, I think I could make myself an employee, or I think I could hire employees and start payroll. That's the entity that becomes the payer of the payroll taxes to the state, to the federal government, issues W-2 statements. And that's also the entity that then could apply to the IRS and say, I have this LLC, but I've added employees, and now I want to be taxed like an S Corp. And all that happens is you'll change the status that your accountant can send off to the IRS and apply for that for you. And then you'll have a different tax return type that you file March 15th. And the LLC is able to have that tax status of the S Corp, which without having the complicated manner of an S Corp. About the only businesses that I still see today form an S Corp at the get-go are sometimes tech companies that have been in development. They know they're going to be the next big thing. They're going to have to seek investors. And we'll talk in a minute about what kind of businesses qualify for investors versus needing to just go get a loan. And they're going to have to issue shares to investors. And so they might need to set up an S Corp at the get-go. And family farms. I often see people when parents are doing estate planning, they might put the family farm in an S Corp and issue shares. And that way the sisters and brothers don't have to have each other's permission to transfer their shares to their children or something like that. With all of these entities, there's going to be an annual filing fee that you have to send the Secretary of State's office. And sometimes people get in trouble because they get that notice and it says, pay your annual franchise tax on your LLC. And people say, well, I'm not a franchise, it's just me, and they throw it away. Look up the word franchise in the dictionary. It means an extension of. And so you are an extension of the state of Arkansas if you form a formal business, an LLC or an S Corp in Little Rock, and you have to pay a fee for that every year. Or when you look your file up on the internet, it's public knowledge, it's on the Secretary of State site, it'll say that instead of being in good standing, you've been revoked. And if your business has been revoked, it doesn't exist. You've lost your liability protection. Your insurance will likely not cover you if you make a claim, if you haven't paid your annual fee. So we have great small business accountants and attorneys that are inexpensive, that help small businesses all the time, that can help you with all of this. It is not hard. It is not extra complicated. If everything I'm talking about you've never heard before, it's just new. And we have lots of people that can help you with this. It's just new. It's not hard. All right. So we really drill on our clients, and we have lists at the get-go. You need an accountant and or probably an attorney to help you set up this properly, help you set up your basic books so that you can get ready to file taxes. Now, the first year, if you just have a little LLC, you're making $1,000 a month. You won't probably even have to file a business tax return March 15th. You'll just add a Schedule C to your personal return, which is a report to the government. I sold $5,000 worth of wreaths. I spent $3,000 in materials and farmers market fees. And so I've got a profit of $2,000, and it just passes through in your regular return. But once you set up the LLC and you have significant income, you will start filing a tax return, informational only, March 15th. And then that LLC, based upon who the member owners are, issues a K-9, just like your employer gives you a W-2. You attach that to your personal return, and then that profit or loss passes through to you. So it just becomes a very routine thing. So you want to get help with this from people who do this all the time, and we have lists of those folks that can help you. Permits, licenses, and taxes. Going back to me making wreaths in my garage. Even though I can't operate a business out of my house, I am legally supposed to tell the city of Fayetteville that I have a home office. I'm using my computer to book my farmers marketplaces. I might be selling to people online using my home office, and I'm using my garage to make the wreaths. So the city has a right to know that you're doing that. It's like $35 a year to get a home office license. The fire marshal might call you to make sure you're not mixing chemicals. They're going to make you swear on all that is holy that you are not letting people come to your house and transact business, because your house is zoned residential, but you can get a city business license. Now, obviously, I've already talked about you need the sales and use tax permit. If you're selling any goods to people, you owe city, county, and state tax. You become, when you get that permit from the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration, you become a tax collector for the state. I advise clients a lot of times, set up a second bank account. Put all the sales tax that you collect in that account so you don't ever start thinking that's your money, because it's not. And then you work with your accountant to figure out when you need to send that tax into the state of Arkansas or the county or the city. There are going to be taxes if you're selling goods. Now, certain services don't have to charge taxes. I'm not going to tell you which ones do or don't, because that may have all changed last week in the legislature. There are certain services that you have to charge taxes for and certain services you don't. And that's why you need to, at the get-go, talk to a good small business accountant to make sure. For example, in the state of Oklahoma, if you are doing services as a mechanic, you don't have to charge sales tax. But if you put a part on a car and you sell the people a part, you have to charge sales tax on the whole thing. Arkansas has different laws about mechanics than Oklahoma. So even state to state, right next to each other, they have different laws about sales tax. So you need to talk to an accountant in your state to determine if you need to charge sales tax. Talk to you about the zoning laws. If you're, there are ways that you can go through a city to get your property rezoned to be able to operate a business out of it, but it's very complicated. You have to give notice to all your neighbors. It's easier out in the county. Back when I was a kid growing up in Benton County, you could do anything you wanted in the county. Not anymore. We now have county zoning boards. You will still have to go through the county if you want to operate a business out of your house. It's going to be easier to get it approved, but you cannot just do what you want to do in a building. And so you have to check that. And even at like strip malls and places like that, that you might look at space, you need to make sure that the type of business you want to operate there is allowable, and don't just listen to the strip mall manager. You're going to have to investigate that with the city. Then when you start getting to level things about food, tobacco, alcohol, there's whole other state, county, and local ordinances. You're going to have to learn all that. It's not hard, but it's a lot. And so like the example of people, I've had people contact me and they're like, I have a catering business and I need you to help me get ready to get a loan because I want to open a restaurant. And the first thing I'm going to say is, where are you making the catering food? Oh, I make it in my house. Well, that's a problem. That's illegal. You can have a food business in your house, but you have to have a second kitchen. You can't use the same kitchen that is your personal kitchen. It has to be inspected by the county health department. It has to have code requirements about grease traps if you're doing meats, about the water, about the electric, about the entrance and the exit. So there are a lot of rules that go with these things. Sometimes I meet with people and their goal is, I want to open a restaurant. All right. So we're going to start at the basics. You might not be able to do that and have a fully fledged public open restaurant with a $250,000 loan in 2 months. But I can give you a plan to start doing this, which you can do right now. Start doing that. If it's foods that are not hot and cold, like baked goods, like salsas and sauces, we have a law in Arkansas. It used to be called the Cottage Act. Now it's called the Arkansas Food Freedom Act. It changed last summer. And there are certain things under that where you can make stuff in your kitchen at home and you don't even have to have it inspected, and you can sell to stores. You can sell to Ozark Natural Foods. I have several clients that sell baked goods there and they make them in their home, but they're baked goods. that are not temperature controlled. So there's a lot of these rules and regulations that you just need to learn about your business. Record keeping is very important. From the get-go, keep all invoices and all canceled checks or credit card payments if you spend personal money to start your business. If you go buy a $600 computer system to start an online consulting business, keep that proof, because that is your equity injection in the business. You're going to need it for your first tax return, and it will count in a few years if you go to a bank. Say you go to a bank and you want to get a $50,000 loan to open a public office and to hire some help, and you're going to need furniture and you're going to need to fix it up. If you get approved for a $50,000 loan, the bank is going to want to see that you have already invested 10% of that in the business yourself. So if you kept that invoice and that proof of payment from that $600 computer, now you're only going to have $4,400 invested in the business. So keep all those records. Then obviously, even if your business is very simple, go open that business bank account, either for the DBA or especially for the LLC. Put all the income in, pay all the expenses out. Now, after 3 or 4 months, if there's some extra money in there and you'd like to have some of that for you personally, great. You write a check from the business bank account to yourself personally. You put distribution on it. You document that in the business records and put it in your personal account. You don't use the business bank account to buy new tires for your daughter's car. All right. You can't do that. But if you need $800 to buy tires for your daughter's car and you got $5,000 in your business account, that's fine. Write yourself a check for $800 and then go buy your daughter's cars. So doing these records like this will keep separate books. It'll help you file your taxes, and it won't do what we call pierce the corporate veil. The whole point of setting up the LLC is to protect your limited liability. But if you start treating the business like it's just you personally, then you've lost that liability protection. Insurance. Everybody needs insurance. It's obvious you need insurance with a food truck, right? Because food, people goes in their bodies. But massage therapy, if you have a brick and mortar place or an office and people come in and they could trip on the carpet and hurt themselves, all a lawsuit takes is about $180 and a person to go to the courthouse. You don't even have to have a lawyer to file a lawsuit. So you need business insurance to cover you for errors and omissions, which means you get sued. It helps provide you an attorney, so you don't have to come up with $10,000 to get yourself out of a bogus lawsuit. Also, you need insurance to cover if you make mistakes. I have a friend who tells a story about a friend of hers who had a little online marketing company. She did it all online. She would do ads for people and graphics and help them with ad campaigns on Google and on their Facebook, etc. And one night she finished an ad campaign for them for Black Friday after Thanksgiving, and she posted a coupon at 12:01 midnight. And the coupon was only going to be good from 12 to 12, and it was buy one of these, get one free. She posted it, went to bed. She wakes up about 6 or 7 the next morning and her phone is blown up from the company. She had forgotten to put on the coupon 1 per customer. And so people were doing the buy one, get one, buy one, get one, buy one, and it caused a great loss to the company. She had, for her little marketing company, even though she never met with anybody in person, she had errors and omissions insurance. And so she was able to turn that into her insurance company and reimburse the client for the loss they had not planned because she over-offered the coupon. So that's examples of that. Once you get where you have employees, you're going to need workers' compensation insurance. Here's another one that people forget about. And this is why it's so important to get an attorney to help you draft your operating agreement when you have partners, which are, members. So we don't really do the simple old-fashioned partnerships anymore, but we still call each other partners. Even though if you and I are in business together, I'm a member manager and you're a member manager. But here's the deal. You need to have in that operating agreement what we're going to do if you die, if I get disabled, if I want to move to California and sell out to you. And this operating agreement tells what you're going to do for this. And then every year you need to put in there that you're going to meet the first 2 weeks of January and you're going to draft a resolution and put in there how much you think the business is worth. We think the equipment we have is worth this. We think the value of the business and its goodwill in the community is worth this. You sign it and date it. And that way, if one of you dies and that person is married, her husband or his wife is going to have a right to ownership of that LLC. And you can put in that operating agreement that you have first right to buy their interest. You have so much time to pay them or their heirs. You know, it would be them if they just want out. And you can put in there all day, oh, we'll hire a business evaluator, and that's what we'll base the value on. Well, number one, that costs $3,000 to $7,000 to hire a business evaluator. If you've gotten to a point where you don't like each other or you're getting divorced, it's unlikely you're going to agree on who the business evaluator is, and you're going to fuss about who pays the business evaluator. But if every year you have documented what you think the business is worth, that's the half you got to come up with. Now, if it's only a few $1,000s, easy breezy, you go in accordance with that agreement, you pay them their half, and they transfer with a bill of sale their interest in the business, and they sign off. That's great. But let's say in 3 years, the business is worth $200,000. Do you have $100,000 to buy them out? Look at the last thing on this slide. Once the business gets big enough, you need to buy key person life insurance on each other. And so big fancy restaurants in New York City, they have $1 million life insurance policies on their chefs, even if they're not even owners of the business. But every good business owner who has a partner gets a life insurance policy on them. One, so you can buy them out. If they die, you can buy out their heirs, their children, or whoever they leave their property to, which the ownership in the business is property. But also, you maybe have lost this person that's helped you run the business, and now you're going to have to hire somebody. That's going to be a lot of expense. So you need to have that insurance if you have partners. Personnel. Just because you say somebody is an independent contractor does not mean they're an independent contractor. The Internal Revenue Service of the United States government hates independent contractor agreements, absolutely abhors it. They're always trying to get that changed. There was a big movement a few years ago. The IRS was threatening to not let real estate agents be independent contractors anymore. The reason is the IRS does not like people waiting until April 15th to tell them that they earned $50,000 last year. The IRS wants its cut of your income taxes every week or every month or as soon as possible. And so if you think someone is an independent contractor, that is really hard to define, because it has to mean that you say, here's some work I need done. I don't care when you do it. I expect it to look like this. I'm not going to show you how to do it. I'm not going to give you equipment to do it. Just do it. That's basically the only way somebody's an independent contractor. If you train them, if you tell them when they can take vacation and can't, they're an employee, and you've got to pay payroll taxes on them. And I got news for you. If you don't have this well documented and figured out, you're going to lose any unemployment filing they file on you. You're going to owe back taxes when they should have been classified as an employee. So always get expert advice from an accountant or an attorney on this. And when I tell you to hire an accountant, hire an attorney, it does not mean that you're going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. It doesn't mean that you have to pay them every month for the rest of your life in your business. You can get them to teach you how to set up QuickBooks properly. You can get them to teach you how to file the quarterly statements on payroll, but you need to get some expert advice. You can't possibly know every single detail to set up your business or to take it from a DBA to an LLC, to change your tax filings. You need to get help with this. And if you have an employee, you need an employee manual. If you have 20 employees, one employee manual. If you need one, you need an employee manual. If you don't have a basic employee manual, you will lose every single unemployment claim, I bet, against you ever filed. Because if they texted you they weren't coming into work at midnight and they were supposed to be there at 6 a.m. and you fire them, they're going to tell the unemployment hearing officer, oh, well, I've done that before and they always let me do it. It wasn't a problem. But if it's in your employee handbook, that text messages are not acceptable way of letting them know you're not coming into work. You have to talk to them on the phone, and you have to give notice within 12 hours unless you are severely ill. And then you have to bring in a note from a doctor to prove you're severely ill. You'll win that unemployment hearing. And you'll also dissuade them from filing that to begin with. Home-based business. I talked about that a little bit earlier. Once again, you've got to be sure that you're checking with the city and that where you live allows a home-based business. We now have housing additions coming out of the ground with covenants on the houses in Northwest Arkansas that say no home-based businesses allowed. And I got news for you, your neighbors will snitch on you. And here's how your neighbors will know. And the housing group, the property owners association, could file for you to have to sell your house. The way they find out is when 16 FedEx and UPS trucks start coming down the street every day because you're shipping online goods out. When people bought their nice home in that nice neighborhood, they don't want 16 FedEx and UPS trucks coming down the street. And what if everybody in the neighborhood starts an online business? So you really have to check the covenants to make sure. If you are operating a home-based business legally out of your house, you got permission from the city, you're doing that, you need to contact your home insurance, because when you filled that form out 3 years ago when you bought your house, you probably checked no business going on in this house. So even if you legally get where you can have a business in your house, if someone comes to your home and slips and falls and sues you, your homeowner's insurance won't cover it because you didn't tell your agent. Same thing with your car. If you start using your personal car, you're not titling it in the name of the business and getting business insurance, but you're using it. You have to tell your insurance company that you're using it for business purposes. Is your rate going to go up? Probably, but it's better than driving around uninsured or having business in your house that's uninsured. Think about it, the get-go with your business and setting up a business phone number, adding a second line, and getting a business mailing address. Because as your business grows, you don't want to give up your personal cell, but you don't want the whole world having that. So these are just some of the things to think about initially. If you are starting a business and you want customers from the public, you have to have a website. I can say it 20 times or I can say it twice. You have to have a website. Starting a business in 2023 without a website is like starting a business in 1975 and not having a telephone number. You have to have a website. I can talk to you about all the options out there for free website building if you're even just slightly good at a computer. We have small business marketing companies. There are 3 women I know who operate small business marketing companies out of their home. They'll meet you at a coffee shop, meet you at the library, help you put your website together. You pay them, they'll continue to help you. 2, we have major marketing companies here that I will tell you their base price to build a website is $10,000. But if you're opening a small hotel and you want to recruit people from all over the country to come to your small hotel or your Airbnb in Northwest Arkansas, you probably need that kind of website. So we have lists. I can guide you. Then there's people who are perfectly capable. If you're doing tutoring out of your home and going and meeting kids at the library or at their home, you could set up a website on Wix. It's super easy and it's free, except then you'll want to pay them like $39.95 to have a booking side to it and to be a .com and not a Wix.com. So there are lots and lots of great resources out there to help you with this. Social media platforms. Do not sign up for every single one. Unless you are a monstrously large business, you don't need every single one. I tell everyone, Northwest Arkansas, you need to have a business Facebook. It is absolutely vital because you can share Facebook posts. Facebook has an algorithm. I teach a 2-hour social media marketing class that talks about how Facebook controls whether or not your followers see your posts. And so getting people to share your posts from your business page to their personal helps you get free promotion and helps more people see it. Instagram, absolutely vital, especially if your customers are women. If it's art related, clothing related, food related, the hashtags become really important. Don't transfer a post from Instagram to Facebook and then not go check the Facebook because it looks weird. It has the @ tag that doesn't work. from Instagram to Facebook. So there's all these different ways to figure out what the right social media channels are for you. And you can book an appointment with me. I will help you make a 12-month marketing plan just for you. I will ask you how much you want to spend, ask you if I need to help teach you about doing good content. Remember, it is called social media, not sales media. If all you do is post pictures of your food that you sell, if all you do is post pictures of the clothes you sell, people are going to unfollow you. They might stay on and like your page because they don't want you to know, but they're going to unfollow you. I can help teach you how to make your content interesting so people are interacting with it and sharing it. Networking matters, especially if you have a service-based business. You do house cleaning, or you do business consulting, or you're an accountant, or you have a massage therapy business. People want to get to know you. And I have lists I can send you. I showed you some of the ones just for women, but we have free networking groups in Northwest Arkansas. There's one in Rogers every Wednesday, one in Fayetteville every Friday. You can just show up. There's 40 to 60 business owners there. You tell them what you do, you pass your cards around. So that really works and helps to get the word out for you. If you have a business that like lawn care, like opening a new nail salon, like starting a brand new tutoring business, direct mail, you can go, we have some direct mail companies in Northwest Arkansas, and they can tell you which neighborhoods have children between the ages of 11 and 18. You can have a postcard printed up and pick the neighborhoods you want that postcard to go to get new lawn care clients. Logos, colors, name, and branding matter. If you have a children's clothing company, your logo should not be black and silver with a lightning bolt. That's not a good brand for a children's clothing company. You need to have something that matches your mission, that matches the kind of business you have. Names matter. Sometimes people will tell me the idea they have for a business, and I'm like, you know, first of all, it's hard to spell. Secondly, I can't tell at all from that name what you do. And so if you are on a limited budget, it makes a world of difference if you call your business Caboodle Dogs versus just Caboodles. What's Caboodles? Is that a kid's company? Is it an art supply? But if you at least call it Caboodle Dogs of Northwest Arkansas, I know it has something to do with dogs. Now, I don't know if it's a groomer or a training or dog supply, but you know, all of those things matter in the name. And then once again, Google the fire out of it, because if there's already a Caboodle Dogs in Tulsa, Oklahoma, do not choose that name. They are going to probably come after you. Even if they don't have a trademark, they might. Then what if the Caboodle Dogs people in Tulsa get arrested for abusing animals? Do you want that, you know, to reflect on your business? I don't know. So don't get too excited about a name until you really investigate it. If you have a service business or a business that involves money or people going in people's homes or giving them certain types of advice, it's a good idea to put your name on it. Susan Reynolds Consulting, LLC, Susan Reynolds, or just like Reynolds, if you just have your last name, you know, Reynolds Home Tutoring. People like to know if it's something where they need to know, like, and trust you. It's a great idea to put your personal name on it. Yeah. My program froze. There we go. All right. So there we go. All right. So once again, and I put this in there about the taxes a lot. Number one, this is the biggest place we see small business owners get in trouble. And like I told you before, saying I didn't know to the state or federal taxing departments will get you nothing. You have chosen to not just be an employee, to not just work from home, or not just take care of your family. You have chosen to become a business owner. And there are rules and regulations that apply. And there are plenty of people who very affordably will help you figure this out. But these are just some of the taxes you need to think about. And you have to know, the state of Oklahoma a few years ago had a corporate tax. For about 4 years, they just decided that every business in the state of Oklahoma had to pay a $50 tax every year. Finally, everybody got so mad about it and they railed on it, they got rid of it. But for a little while, there was just this $50 because you have to pay it tax. Arkansas didn't have it, but Oklahoma did. So you've got to get some advice because these tax laws change all the time. Banking, I've talked about before. Have a separate bank account. You don't have to have an LLC or an S Corp. You can get a DBA business account. It's a great way to separate, to see what you're really making on your products. And it's a great way to have that information ready to file your Schedule C on your personal or get ready to start filing the full business account. If you think that you're going to look for a business loan in the future, reach out to me if you don't already know a small business banker. Get to know them, make an appointment, ask them what they're going to need from you. I will tell you, almost every bank in Northwest Arkansas is going to need a 700 credit score for you to get a bank loan. But we have micro lenders, loans under 50,000 that are great, reputable people, Forge and Communities Unlimited, that will let you go into the upper 500s and 600s. I operate a crowd-funded loan program for the Walton Family Foundation called Kiva, and there is no minimum to apply for that. Now, if you have a 700 credit score versus a 450, you might get approved for a couple thousand more, but there's no minimum. So all of these things will help you get ready, but all of these, everyone expects you to have a business bank account, that you're taking that step to be serious about your business. Most people start small businesses with their own savings. Or if they're fortunate enough to have an Aunt Sally or a mom and dad who have some money, they can get loans from their family. If you just need a piece of equipment, going to the equipment company, they have lower standards about credit scores, and you can get a good loan just for that piece of equipment. Bank financing, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. January 23rd, I'm going to be in Siloam Springs at the public library doing an hour-and-a-half seminar on nothing but business loan options, all the different types. There are people who start businesses with a credit card because that's their only option. I can give you some advice if that's all you can do, how to at least do that smartly, how to at least plan to get that paid off as soon as possible, how to get your credit score better so you can go to a bank and get a better type of loan, such as this SBA guarantee, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. That is the way that the federal government helps people start for-profit businesses. A question we get a lot is people contact us and say, is there free grant money for me to start a for-profit business? The answer is no. Now, during COVID, we had some of the good to come from some of the problems and the needed changes that came out during COVID about small business owners, about the prejudice and the lack of access to capital by business owners of color, by women, was that we had some grants come up. But even during the past 3 years, when we've had grants to help businesses survive, they were for already existing businesses, not to start one. Grants are monies that come from the government or foundations. 99% of the time, they go to nonprofit corporations. That means someone applied to the IRS and I'm going to start this nonprofit, and I'm only going to help the public with something that the government thinks is needed. And then you form this nonprofit. It's a lot more complicated to organize that. The IRS is very much involved in that because of tax deductions. And so governments and foundations will give free money to nonprofits to do a community good. There is no free money to start a new nail salon in South Fayetteville. There is no free money to start an online marketing company just because you're a woman or you're a person of color. That's for profit. That's for you to make money. The way the government does help and wants to support women and wants to support people of color and wants to support veterans starting businesses is it set up the U.S. Small Business Administration. And that is the U.S. government backing loans and encouraging banks to make these risky loans. So that's how that happens. Now you hear about venture investment and investors. And you can see behind me our Shark Tank poster. Startup Junkie brought Shark Tank to Bentonville in 2017. Over 200 people pitched to Shark Tank. One person, a 15-year-old girl named Sophie Overton, made it on the show and she got an investment. But think about when you watch Shark Tank. No one walks out at Shark Tank and says, "Hi, I have an idea for a business. Please give me some money and let's see if it'll go." That's not the way it works. To get investors, you have to have been operating the business. And it doesn't mean you have to be making $1 million a year. I've seen people get investments on Shark Tank who were making about $20,000 a year, but then they got a contract with a local store and they were going to make 40 the next year and 100 the next year. And so investors will come in once you've proven to them that the business is accelerating and is doing well. And they're going to really examine you and see how well you're doing. And do you have an accountant? And do you have an attorney? So the investor and the venture capital, that's pretty rare for anyone in starting out in a typical for-profit small business. You typically will only see that for businesses that have already grown or tech companies that have a big chance to really leap ahead. So talk to you. I've mentioned them twice before. I'm going to be sending you these slides. You can meet with me. I can explain to you about Forge. Yes, they're based in Huntsville. They've been there for, 35 or 40 years. They started out doing USDA loans to help organic farmers out there. But now Forge makes loans all over the state of Arkansas. They help all different kinds of small businesses, and they're very legitimate, and they are SBA-backed loans, but they're not as hard to access with the requirements. Communities Unlimited is in Little Rock and Fayetteville, same concept. Both of them want to make loans to underrepresented people, women, people of color, veterans, people who have low credit scores because of bad things that have happened in their life. And it doesn't, even though their credit score is 520, they have a great business they've been running for 2 years, and they just need a loan to open their store or get more equipment. And so they're very open to that. And I can connect you to people there. Do not sign any leases. Do not sign any agreements to do anything, buy products, until you know your loan has been approved. No loan is fully approved until you close, until you know that you have submitted everything that the bank or the lender needs. Once again, grants are very rare. Now, we have some local groups that give grants out to small businesses, and you can apply. But once again, they're all going to be businesses that have at minimum been operating for a year. They're all going to expect to see profit loss statements, balance sheets, and tax returns. So once again, you might grow your business to a point, and there might be some grant opportunities, and you can search for those, but you're going to have it set up as a valid business that this foundation or group feels like you're a good investment for them. Also with the bank, once again, whatever the loan amount is that you need, you're going to have cash 10% of that, either in the business bank account, or if you're pre-revenue, you're a startup that hasn't had any income yet, you're going to have to put that forward. So if you need $100,000 to open this store, you're going to have to show them that you can first spend $10,000 to open that store, and then the bank or the lender will fund the other 90%. The SBA loans, that's a great program that the federal government administers through the banks. You still go to local banks. We have lists at Startup Junkie of every bank in Northwest Arkansas that has told us we do SBA loans. We have SBA loan officers that are trained, and we want people to come talk to us. They are more likely to make the loan to you because they're going to get this backing from the government Small Business Administration. The interest rate is going to float, and so they'll close it. They can do prime, plus you can see on this screen 275. Unfortunately, the prime interest rate right now is 7.5%. So most small business loans for startups are going to be at about 10%. That's still a lot better than a credit card at 16%, but they are high. Back when I was a loan officer at the bank I was at in Springdale in 2016, that prime rate was 3.25. That's the bad news. The good news is, look at history. No recession lasts in this country more than a couple of years. So if you can cash flow that loan payment with your projections for your business, in about a year, you're going to get a notice from the bank that your payment's going down, because they will lower it when the prime rate goes down. So also the SBA, not only is the bank more likely to make the loan, but they're going to give you a longer term. If you go to a bank and just get an in-house loan for a startup, which is really unlikely unless you have equity in your house and you're going to pledge your house as collateral, unless you have a paid for rental duplex, unless you have a nice car that's paid for that you can put up as collateral, even if they made you a loan to buy equipment and open a store, it's probably going to be a 3 to 5 year note, which is going to make your payment higher. With the SBA on a loan like that, you can go up to 10 years. If you're buying a building with the SBA, you can go out 30 years on a loan, and you might be able to get a fixed rate. So the SBA program is the best option. You go to a local bank. We have the list of which bankers do it. That bank makes the decision. I always encourage people to apply to at least 3 banks, because if bank A turns you down, bank B might approve you, bank C might approve you, but they want a little higher interest rate. You can have options. And then the big thing is, even if you don't need a loan to open your business, you're already operating, you're starting to grow, while your profit loss statements look good, while you're in growth mode, don't be scared to go to a bank and get a line of credit. That is a loan. You go through the applications, you give them your tax returns, you fill out the forms, and say you get approved for a $10,000 line of credit. You leave the clothing and you may not take any money yet, but that line hangs out there. And then when you find out there's a coffee shop in Fort Smith that has a $10,000 coffee machine and they're fire selling it for $1,500, you can email your loan officer and say, hey, please drop $1,500 from my line of credit in my bank account. They drop it in there. You get a cashier's check. You go to Fort Smith. You get the coffee machine. You've now doubled your coffee sales. Until you pay that $1,500 off, you pay interest only on it. And then when you pay it off, you don't get a bill from the bank. But you can't get a line of credit when you get in trouble. All right. So as soon as your business is going pretty well, if you have a credit score around 700, reach out to me to talk about going to a local bank to get a line of credit. That is a really great thing that every small business should have for opportunities and for tough times. If you have a food truck and we get an ice storm, you're not going to have any income for 2 weeks. It'd be really nice to be able to have your loan officer drop your rent in your bank account to make sure you pay your rent until things warm up and your customers come back. The SBA loan program does charge a fee. It's 3% of the 75% guarantee that the bank has, but the bank will loan you that money and they don't keep it. They send it to the SBA. That's how the SBA exists. So we have huge SBA offices in Washington, D.C. and California. Every state has a state SBA. We have a SBA team in Little Rock. We work with them up here. They have a Northwest Arkansas representative. The SBA does look at credit history, and they will ask for liens on the business collateral. They won't ask for liens on your personal collateral until the loan usually gets over like $40,000 or $50,000. The bank makes that decision. Some of the only deal breakers for getting an SBA loan is you do have to be a U.S. citizen or have a green card. You can't have had a felony conviction, and you can't have ever failed on a federal loan. So if you had a VA home loan and you got in tough times and you walked away from it, you won't be able to get an SBA loan. So if you had a USDA farm loan and you walked away and got into foreclosure and the government lost money, then you can't get an SBA loan. But it's a really, really great program. I did this for several years and people got approved for loans that there's no way they would have gotten approved with just the regular banking in-house. And so in-house bank loans. If some of you were fortunate enough to buy a house in Northwest Arkansas 5 or 6 years ago, you may have equity in your home. And banks love dirt. Dirt is the best collateral there is. You can get HELOCs, which is a home equity line of credit. You can get a business loan just through the bank where the bank makes its own decision. It doesn't ask the SBA. It doesn't follow SBA rules. They just make their own decisions. You can probably get a lot lower rate than the current 10.5%, but it's going to be a shorter term. If you want to get a loan to buy a rent house, that is not a business loan. Even though you're like, well, that's my business, I'm going to rent it out. I understand that. But that is called passive income. You're not buying and selling services to the public. You're just renting to one person. Those type of loans have to be in-house loans. And banks love them because, once again, they're dirt, okay? So if you have a higher credit score, especially like 750, 800, if you have some collateral, you might look at talking to the bank about just an in-house loan because it's going to be a lower interest rate and it'll go faster. They don't have to get approval from the government in Washington, D.C. at the SBA. So it will be a better interest rate, but it's going to be a shorter term, which means your monthly payments are higher. So it's good to work with banks that do both and see what your options are. So, that's the big overview. It's a lot, but if it's your first time thinking about all this, it doesn't mean it's hard. It doesn't mean it's complicated. It's just new. And so that's our job here at Startup Junkie, to connect you to resources, to connect you with help, to start in one place and go to another one. I will tell you that I have now been doing this long enough. I have great stories. Everything we do with our clients is confidential, but we have clients who come on our podcast who want us to do spotlight stories on them. I can tell you stories about businesses in Northwest Arkansas that we've done their spotlight, that I helped them start in their garage, in their back bedroom, and they now have $1 million buildings they are operating businesses from. And they started out with little experience, built and grew and analyzed and built a customer base. I can tell you all of them have a website. All of them use social media. So what you're dreaming of doing, sure, let's meet. And I'll tell you, I don't think that's going to happen this year, but I can help you put together a plan to do it in 3 years or 5 years. The average American lives to be 77 now. So you got lots of time. It's better to do it right and to build it and put your time in it, knowing that it can be a success someday. So this slide will have for you all of my contact info and our website again. And so now I'm going to check the chat, and Victoria, if you want to come on and let me know if we have any questions.
I haven't seen any come through the chat, but if anyone has one now, it would be a great time to ask.
Okay. And one person put in there that they want to talk to me about something with a type of business. So be sure you got my email. Just send me an email, because I won't be able to save this while I'm in the screen. All right. So any of you can email me, and everything I do is confidential. I don't tell anybody anything. We have client, like I have a client, I'll tell you right now, she's opening, I've worked with her for years since she first started. She was one of my Kiva Loan clients, which is a crowdfunding, and she is opening a bakery in downtown Rogers. It's Baked by Corey. It's my client, Corey. I'm going to be doing stories about her, and we're going to be putting that out everywhere because she wants us to. But know that anything you contact me with, no one's going to know we talked. No one's going to steal your idea or know you're looking at a building. If I run into you at the grocery store, I won't even say I know you unless you say to your friend, oh, this is my business consultant. She's helping me move. We would never do that. We are very professional here, and we're happy to help you in any way. Someone says, one person put in another direct message to me asking about starting a consulting company. Do you need an LLC? Please email me and let's book a discussion. Listen, people are so, even my event planners, I tell them, if you do a wedding and the bride's mother is a lawyer and she decides that you destroyed her daughter's life because the tablecloths were not what she thought magenta should be, there's nothing you can do to prevent her from suing you. and you need to have insurance to cover you in that lawsuit. If you do, this person didn't say what kind of consulting or counseling. If someone alleges that you consulted or told someone to do something and then they killed themselves because you gave them bad advice or you upset them, a lawsuit is $180 and a piece of paper at the courthouse. So listen, here's the deal. Every person I send to my list of business insurance agents always comes back to me and says, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was that cheap. So a lot of business insurance is not super expensive. And the list we have are independent agents. You don't go to Allstate or State Farm for business insurance. You go to business that'll say, you know, so-and-so insurance brokers or so-and-so general insurance, because they have hundreds of lines. There are lines of insurance that are just for food trucks, that are just for food trailers, that are just for restaurants, that are just for nail salons, that are just for mobile services. So we can get you connected. So insurance is, you would be surprised how inexpensive it is. Okay, someone asked about if they're on the border of Arkansas and Oklahoma. That's a great question. And I'll want to get you, so where you live is where you want to form your entity, but then you're going to work with your attorney to also send, if you form your LLC, let's do my hometown. Let's say I live in Siloam and I form my business in Siloam Springs. I'm doing let's say I'm doing a windshield repair company. I'm going to form it in Little Rock. I'm going to have my bank account here, etc. But I'm going to go over into West Siloam a lot. Then you're going to need to file with the Oklahoma Secretary of State a foreign corporation filing. You're going to need to find out about, do you have to get licenses when you're doing that business and taking money over in Delaware County? Do you have to collect taxes? So you'll want to talk to, and we can help you find accountants. My accountant for my small business is in Siloam Springs. It's my dad's accountant. And because they're in Siloam Springs, they help us with our business in Oklahoma. They know both. It took me a month to find someone. I have a home in Fayetteville and I have a home in Delaware County. I finally found an insurance agent in Siloam who's licensed in both states. So the answer is yes, you will, but you typically are going to file the business and operate the business where you live and is your main office. So that's a great question with us being so close to our Okie neighbors. Some people ask, you know, do you have any advice for operating a business in the recession? Obviously, it depends on what kind of business, and I'd be even more happy to just talk to you one-on-one about yours. But yes, there are things you need to do. Number one, if you're an existing business, you need to be cultivating your relationships times 10 with your current customers. Every business starting, you should be getting emails and cell phone numbers of your clients, so you can text out specials, so you can email them updates, so you can send them specials and you can get them to come in. Drew, if you are an existing business, what I've been telling everyone is you need to concentrate in the next few months on offers and specials and cultivating the relationships with your continuing clients. And then if you're not good at social media, if you haven't been really, you know, you're posting once every month and you don't pay that much attention because business has been going good, contact me, get with some good social media marketers. We have some rock star social media marketing people in Northwest Arkansas that are very inexpensive, and get on that social media marketing. I don't tell you this to have something to say. I tell you this because I have clients like Natalie Freeman with Freckle Hen. Public knowledge, was in the Fayetteville Flyer when she bought that building she's in. It cost $750,000. She has an Airbnb in the back. She has a huge business. Her entire business was started by her when she was 20 years old because she started a blog and she was one of the first people to market on Instagram, and social media has built her business to where it is, especially if you're a business that's products that people want to see, that's personality. People want to get to know you. They want to get to know you. And so doubling down on social media marketing, getting some professional advice on that, and cultivating the clients you already have. Now, if you're talking about starting a business in a recession, we want to have a long discussion about why do you think your business is special that the public is going to respond. Maybe yours is going to be cheaper. Maybe yours is going to be a mobile service instead of a brick and mortar, which makes it less expensive. So it depends on what you're doing. But yes, you know, with the recession coming, we're not sure. I'll tell you, it's a little harder here because when you go around here, most of our businesses and industries are not seeing the squeeze yet that they're seeing on the coasts and in the big cities. So you live in one of the best places in the country to start a business. And sometimes we're a little bit recession proof because of our strong economy. So it's kind of a different conversation sometimes here. All right. So I'm going to send the slide. I'm going to send this email out in a little bit. If you did not sign up through Eventbrite, I don't have your email. So Martha at Startup Junkie, all lowercase, just like our website, .org. So send me an email or you won't get this email from me if you didn't, because that's how I have your emails. But I'll be sending that out and I'm going to send you the slides. I'm also going to tell you all there is I just found out about it yesterday. The University of Arkansas Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation is partnering with the U of A Law School. And I'm going to send you out this link. It does have income guidelines. It's not for rich people. But if you're thinking about starting a business and you can't afford, we have people who for $300 to $750 will set up your LLC for you. They're going to have a clinic at the law. Oh, now I can't remember if it's the law. No, I think it's actually going to be at the Brewer Hub down the street where you can apply and they're going to have U of A law students to set up LLCs at no charge for people. So I'm going to send you a link to that. I just found out about it. I'm going to send you Victoria's email so you can sign up for our newsletter to find out about our events. And then I'm going to send you a link. I'm doing a Kiva microloan webinar this Thursday at noon. And I can tell you about that online crowdfunding option. It is very small. These are loans from $1,000 to $15,000. If you haven't been earning income yet, they only go up to 3. But they're 0% interest, no fee. I help you with the process. It gets you on the kiva.org national website. And 2 million people from around the world come on Kiva. 80% of the loans go to women. About 60% of them go to people of color. It is to empower and help get loans to people that can't get loans anywhere else. And I'm going to do a webinar on that Thursday. I'll send you the link to it. But you can still just book an appointment with me and I can tell you if you might be a good candidate to do the Kiva crowdfunding and if you want to. It's really better for existing businesses because you have to already have a business bank account. You have to already have some social media, but you can get it for a startup. It's just going to be a smaller amount, just up to $3,000. And I can help you get ready to apply for that. So I'm going to send you all that info and share it with other people. Talk to other women. When other women tell you, oh, I've always wanted to start a business too, send them to me. Let me connect them. Support each other. Not all women grew up in homes where they were told you can do anything you want. Of course you can have a business. You don't just have to be a teacher or a wife or a nurse, which are wonderful professions. I was a teacher. My stepmother was a nurse. But I also had a dad and a grandmother and a great-grandmother and a great-grandmother who had businesses. So I knew that was a potential for me. If I decided to leave teaching, which I did, I can have my own business. So support and encourage each other. It really matters. And sometimes women especially will not be confident enough to speak their dreams. So when someone trusts you enough to tell you they have a dream, get them connected, send them to us. Help them out, give them advice, and let's encourage and support each other. So, all right, I think that's all I have, and I hope to hear from some of you all, and we appreciate your time, and please come. I'm also going to put a link in there. I don't have it ready yet, but follow us. I'm having a huge women's event March 7th at Colonel Hall at the U of A. It's a hotel now, but it's the first dormitory built at the U of A for women. It's going to be networking. It's going to be free food and drinks. First National Bank NWA is going to pay for our food and drinks. And we're going to have about 6 to 8 women tell the story of their education or service related business. And it's all free. And I would love for you to come. It's going to be March 7th from 5:30 to 7:30. We haven't put the promos out. I'll be getting them out this week. So I'll give you all that info, and we just hope you stay connected with us, and we hope we can be of assistance to you. So thank you. Get outside and enjoy that sunshine.